Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. This is our work session, our 1:30 work session. We also have one at 2:30. Our topic today is to get an update. This is part of what we normally do, but an update from our service area category, Human and Economic Health Services. And we have, in particular, the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care will provide us with an update, and then all the various departments that fall within that service area category. My name is John Kafalis. I'm a county commissioner. That's why I'm on this side of the table. I'm joined by my commissioner colleague, Kristen Stevens, District 2, our county manager, Lorinda Volker, and I believe Commissioner Shattuck McNally will be here shortly. But we have about an hour, and I'll turn it over to Lorinda. Do you want to say anything, or we should turn it over to Laura?
I think we'll turn it over to Laura, but just to introduce the idea that the service areas meet with you all from time to highlight things going on in their service area. So for any of the community members listening, this is our Human and Economic Health Service area. It's a regular meeting we have just to provide good information and highlight some programs that we work on. So Laura, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorinda. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Laura Walker, and I serve as the Human and Economic Health Service Area Director for the county. And today, we do have a special guest with us. So we have Kelly Pryor, who is the current director of the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. I actually might hand this off to Aaliyah Rodriguez, our Housing Stability Program Manager, to introduce the county's role in the COC, the Continuum of Care, and then have her hand it off to Kelly to give us some background and current information about what this organization is up to. So, Aaliyah, I'll have you take it.
Thank you, Laura. Welcome, Aaliyah.
Thank you, Laura. So as said, I'm Aaliyah Rodriguez. I'm the Housing Stability Program Manager. And I currently serve as the chair of the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care as a representative of Larimer County. I think I'll let Kelly speak to the regional impact of the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. We're there to address homelessness from a wider lens across Larimer County and Weld County. So,
and thank you, Aaliyah. Before we turn it over to you, Kelly, just want to acknowledge that Commissioner Shattuck McNally from District 3 has indeed joined us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize. The wonderful employees of Larimer County are working on the county roads around my house and have things shut down for a few miles. So I'm very glad for their work.
Kelly, you're on. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. My name's Kelly Pryor. I'm the director of the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care. And I appreciate having the opportunity to share information about what we're doing. I've spoken in front of all three of you commissioners before, so hopefully this won't be brand new information, but I like to start any of my presentations just kind of situating what is a continuum of care and what is the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care specifically. And so, a broad picture is continuums of care are happening all across the country. We call them COCs. And they're a response to the Housing and Urban Development Department's goal of having local strategy around coordinating and addressing homelessness, and also funding, making sure that federal funding that's coming to homelessness work is being done in a coordinated way and with local priorities in mind. And so our region is Larimer and Weld County. That's called the Northern Colorado COC or the NOCO COC. And I think it's important to understand just from the big picture is that the NOCO COC is not one organization. So we're not a nonprofit, specifically, but we're really a collaborative network of many different stakeholders having to deal with homelessness. I will go into in a second kind of how that work's being done and what organizations are taking lead on that. But in general, we're not one entity. It's really that collaborative regional approach. And so we're more of a structure in that way. I think it's also really important to point out that in this region, we're one of the first areas of the country that decided that we needed more local control because we used to be a part of a larger continuum of care called the Balance of State. And so that was 56 counties in Colorado all needing to work together to address homelessness in one unified strategy. And that just didn't work well for Larimer and Weld County for many reasons. And so we successfully petitioned HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Department, to break off and become our own continuum of care in January of 2020. And so we've had several years as our own COC at this point, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to come and share with you what we're up to now. So I like to talk about the North Stars or the aims of the NOCO COC in several buckets of work. So one of them, the largest, is that we're really here to try to align strategies on how to address homelessness regionally, right? We've got several large cities in our two counties. We have two different county governments. We have many rural and resort Estes and South Weld County is also a part of that. And homelessness, it looks different in all of these places, and each locality chooses to address it and fund it in different ways. And so we're really trying to help create a cohesive regional approach to that so that we're all working together because homelessness doesn't know city and county boundaries. People, we know this, people move around. So it really is a Northern Colorado wide strategy is what we're trying to do. Part of what we do as well is elevate housing first best practices. So essentially that's just meaning that to address homelessness, people need homes. Homes are the solution to homelessness, and there are data-driven, proven strategies on how to have successful homelessness response programs that are housing first oriented. And so we're here to help provide that information and technical assistance and things of that nature to kind of on-the-ground programs doing this work. We work to try to coordinate the various services, so the homelessness services, so I say here in the PowerPoint, optimizing over duplicating. We know there's not enough across both counties, there's not enough services available to meet the demand, but so duplicating, we're not as concerned about duplicating, but it is important that if there's a similar program, that they are working together and not competing with one another, so that it's more of a seamless system versus competition. And that same component can be said of funding coordination. Yeah. And then another big North Star of ours under this kind of aligning strategies is really elevating lived experience of homelessness in the work. People who've experienced homelessness they have many ideas on what the concerns and problems are and the barriers that they have faced in finding housing again, and oftentimes they don't have the platform to be able to provide that information. And so we do, I will put an example there, we coordinate a lived experience advisory council that is part of the framework of the continuum of care. And that's made up, we have a Larimer County Council, and we are working on developing a Weld County Council as well. And they advise the continuum of care and any other organization that would like to benefit from their expertise just on various system level issues that they have personally experienced. One other example I just wanted to point out before moving on, as far as service delivery coordination and funding coordination, that the continuum of care has really worked to help elevate is our Street Outreach Collaborative. So recently, the Division of Housing's transformational dollars were awarded to a program, a collaborative program that uses the Outreach Fort Collins street outreach team is partnering with the City of Loveland and also with the United Way of Weld County's Housing Navigation Center to create a regional, a street outreach team that is, they have employees at all of these different organizations, but they're all using the same strategies. And that funding really wouldn't have come, and that collaboration and kind of consistency of model would not have happened without all of those those street outreach, the interested parties that are wanting to do street outreach programming, like having the connections that they made through the continuum of care. So that's really exciting. The next North Star we have is really ensuring comprehensive and quality data around homelessness. So we operate, and by we have an organization that is our lead data organization, that's Homeward Alliance. And so they have staff that operate what's called the Homelessness Management Information System, or HMIS. And that is a database that programs can use to, they can put their individual program data in there, so client intake information, demographic information, case notes, services, those kinds of things. They can use it for their own purpose, but we also, it's a shared platform, and so we can see how people move through the homeless response system, because we can see at a high level, not personally identify, or not sensitive information, but at a high level where someone is receiving services, what kind of services they're receiving. And then with that, we can use that information to then say, okay, this person first was seen at a shelter, and then they were referred to a housing program, and then they moved into the housing program, and we know the length of time. And there's just lots of information that we can glean from having this system. So I listed on the PowerPoint, these are the organizations in Larimer County that are using this database. They get to use it for free. So we pay for, the Continuum of Care pays for all of their licensing, the licenses for it, and provides technical assistance to keep it running. The programs in it are primarily, like they should primarily focus on homelessness services, and so, but that runs the gamut. So from street outreach all the way to emergency shelters, our day centers, so the Murphy Center and the Loveland Resource Center, for example, they use that. But then also housing programs that are dedicated to people formerly experiencing homelessness. So for example, Mason Place, Red Tail Ponds, St. Valentine Apartments. In addition, we do, in my opinion, we're kind of leaders in ensuring that domestic violence data and just domestic violence in general, survivors of domestic violence are included in our general strategy to address homelessness. So one thing that related to data that's important to know is domestic violence survivors and victim service providers that are serving them are not allowed to share their information in kind of the broader, in the HMIS, the data management system, the shared data management system. And so they use they use their own database, but we have made relationships with them and have built trust with the more mainstream homelessness services to figure out a way to at least get aggregate or de-identified information so that we know how many survivors are experiencing homelessness currently. We know about their housing outcomes, and it's not just being held only at the victim service provider level, which has happened. Like that is very often information that is not included in homelessness in homelessness data or the discussion in other communities. But it is here. And the other point of data that we maintain and manage is what's called the point-in-time count and the housing inventory count. We just recently did our point-in-time count. It's the last 10 days of January is when we have to, we coordinate efforts all across both counties. We sent, this year we sent teams all over, all like county roads up to Estes, all over the place, looking for people who might be experiencing homelessness to try to capture that data. So we're in the process of preparing that, and we'll have a report as soon as it's available to provide. And then the housing inventory count is an inventory of every single resource that is in our community that dedicated to homelessness. So how many shelter beds, how many transitional housing beds, how many vouchers for people experiencing homelessness, those kinds of things. And we do that every year. If you're interested in seeing data dashboards or the reports that we've released on this, there's a link. We have that hosted on our website. And the last North Star here is just supporting effective housing placements. So the third kind of bucket of work we do is we provide the infrastructure for coordinated entry. So coordinated entry is it's a federal requirement for many homelessness specific resources. Locally, we call coordinated entry CAPS, or the Coordinated Assessment Housing Placement System. And really the goal of that is to identify people as they're becoming, or as they enter homelessness, assess them for their needs based on kind of what vulnerabilities they have and what needs they might have in order to become housed again. And then create an equitable process to match those individuals to available resources. So it's really trying to take out I'm in the right place at the right time. I know, I have a case manager that likes me and wants to get me housing. It's anyone experiencing homelessness, anyone experiencing homelessness has the same potential access to our community resources to provide housing.
Kelly,
Yes.
respectfully, I just want to do a time check.
Sure.
Because we have at least 3 departments that
Okay.
need to give us updates. What, and I'm sure we'll have questions or comments afterwards. What's your take on?
I only have a couple more slides.
If you could, because it's 20 minutes and we have 40 minutes for 3 other folks.
Okay, perfect.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll just move forward here. I did want to point out the Larimer County has provided this year, using some remaining ERAP dollars, some flexible assistance for people to get rehoused who are currently experiencing homelessness in Larimer County. And we have not had that before. And so I did want to point that out and thank you for that. That's very exciting for us. I've shown this slide to you before, and so this is just the kind of the breakdown of our government structure or our governance structure. I just want to point out there's many committees doing lots of different work. United Way of Weld County and Homeward Alliance work together to be the lead agencies, and they employ the staff that are are responsible for doing this work. Finally, just this is how the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care is funded. So basically, we have a mixture of federal and state grants that we use, foundation dollars, and then membership contributions, of which Larimer County has contributed to the work for the last several years. So thank you very much. That does help a lot. Talked about this. These are some just data points. So 2024, we had in January of this past year, this is the number of individuals that are currently on our list of people experiencing homelessness. So 675. Last year it was 514. So we are seeing an increase. It's hard to say if that's something that's actually an actual increase because we've made system improvements, so we're counting people better. It's something we're keeping an eye on, though. I know that that's always something that we're looking for. This housing resources, this is just a list of our housing, the housing that comes through the continuum. I think the main point of this slide is just to see, it depends when we have a new housing resource come open. For example, St. Valentine opened in October, and they've since housed 50 people. But otherwise, every other month, the referrals are between 4 to 8 is about average. So 4 to 8, and right now we have over 1,000 people on our list between the two counties. So I think it's just important to see that kind of difference. This last slide here is just speaking to the fact that one of our big goals is we're trying to end veteran homelessness. So the number of veterans on our list right now, we have about 45 people in all of Larimer and Weld County that identify as a veteran. Our goal is to get that down to 10. And we have been working very diligently to get to this point. So I just want to keep that on your radar. And that's what I have for you.
Thank you, Kelly. Well done. Excellent information. I'm hoping you could provide that to us, maybe through Laura, the
Yes.
slide presentation. That
Sure,
would be helpful. So with that, colleagues, do you have any questions, comments, observations? Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, just a couple. Thank you for the presentation, Kelly. Really good information to have. With that, I have a lot of people who ask about housing first, and obviously it's a good best practice. And when you have very low vacancy rates in your multifamily housing, like housing first is a harder policy. Like my understanding is communities that have been more successful with that and lowering their numbers are communities that have more available housing. Is that true? And is that and how do you, are you seeing vacancy rates rise or lower, or what's the housing situation for multifamily right now?
That's, so I will say that's not information that I specifically know as far as vacancy rates or not. What I do know is that, so things like the landlord engagement program that the county just approved, it's very exciting for us. If we have kind of more of a system or capacity around figuring out which units are available, and then we have funds that can kind of entice landlords to work with us. We already have a process to funnel people into those units. And we have supportive services. We have the collaboration and the goodwill to work together. So I do think that there are strategies we can continue to try to improve, even though we have low vacancy rate.
Yeah, so obviously it is presented some of those
Yeah. Yes, it's very exciting for us.
And I'm excited to hear about the street outreach being spread out to the other communities. Because it's it's great to get resources to folks. And it's good for people who are business owners that have
Yes.
some concerns and things like that.
Of course.
I was actually on Fort Collins City Council when we looked into an idea like that. Shoot. Was I talking the whole time without being on microphone? I don't know. Anyway, okay. And so I was on council when we conceived a street outreach, and we actually borrowed the idea from Burlington, Vermont, I guess,
Yes.
is who had done it first. And so I'm really glad to see it, because I think it's a really an effective tool, and it's good to get resources to folks, and it's also good for people who have some kind of concerns or fears. So the Weld numbers looked low on that. Do you feel like that's really reflective of the amount of people experiencing homelessness in Weld County? It was
No.
it was in the low. It was 130-ish, and Fort Collins was 360-ish.
Correct.
You feel like that? What do you?
So
How can
one
you
of
explain that, I guess?
Yes. So one of the system improvements we're doing is the improving the entry points into our shared data system, right? So we know people are experiencing homelessness, but if we don't have like one repository of how we can track that, it's essentially in these types of reports, it's essentially like they don't exist, right? Because I don't know the number. I know it's more. But so that's something we've been doing and in Weld County in particular. We've been working to figure out how to get more of that data into our current, the shared system. And actually, United Way of Weld County just hired a position specific around improving Weld County data. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. When I served on Loveland Human Services Commission before I became a county commissioner, I remember very clearly some of the grants and processes, and I was able to actually be, after I signed all the documents to be legal, protection of privacy, I got to be on kind of the calls as you were trying to find, the most vulnerable places to live. I found that very heartening to see, the collaboration, the partnership. And I remember when we did our first grant for rapid rehousing that the Human Services Commission had never done before, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's just great to see things still progressing. So my quick question, and maybe it's too long of a question, and with the timing, but maybe I'd like to talk to you offline, is I've been hearing from peer-to-peer support folks and other, in different, either behavioral health realm, the veteran realm, for folks that are getting housed, maybe at St. Valentine's or other places, when they get into and friendly families, their children are getting placed into places and being housed, it's kind of overwhelming for them because they don't remember how a kitchen works or maybe how to turn it on or how to even cook anymore, or lots of simple things.
Yeah.
And some of these peer-to-peer specialists were telling me that there doesn't seem to be enough wraparound support to help them kind of re-enter how to do activities of daily living. So I didn't know if you have some information, as some of these places have wraparound services to actually help them with kind of just daily activities to kind of relearn how to turn on the stove. And I heard there might be some reasons why there was that recent emergency at one of those locations.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious about that. And maybe that's something I can ask you offline, but it's just something I'm curious about, all the different things, just in a matter of time, if I could maybe ask that later.
Yeah.
But thank you for the presentation.
course.
Excellent work. And really excited to see the program and the collaborations growing. And so maybe we can, just in the interest of time, Mr. Chair, I'll just ask if maybe I can talk to you offline about that.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
I have questions, comments, observations that I will defer, given the time. But to thank you, Kelly, very much. This is helpful. I would like to request that I have a follow-up opportunity with our Housing Stability Program Manager, so I could offer my questions and my comments and my observations with you.
Kelly, I'm wondering, the website that was listed, nocococ.org/data reports, is that public? Can everyone access
Yep,
that?
anyone can access that. Yes.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yep.
So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very helpful, and whatever we can do to help as a county, please let us know as we move forward. Laura, at this time, who would you like to present next?
Thank you. I also did want to mention to the commissioners that this presentation, and there will be one other slide presentation today, those are both in your inboxes now. So we didn't get them until this morning, so they are with you now, so that you'll have the reference materials. Since we just covered housing and homelessness issues, I think we have a quick update from Aaliyah Rodriguez regarding that landlord engagement program that we received approval from the board through the budgeting process for 2024 to fund. And so I'll let Aaliyah give a quick status update on where we are with that.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, the Landlord Engagement Program is just a strategic initiative aimed at fostering positive relationships between our local landlords, our housing service providers, and our hard-to-house tenants in the community. It's being created to build those strong relationships with local landlords alongside those providers to increase housing stability. The program will utilize landlord incentives to increase inventory without having to build new housing, increase landlord satisfaction with our housing service providers, and really create that coordinated approach to landlord relationships. And right now, I'm currently in the process of interviewing for the first of 2 positions that will support this program.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you very much for that update. I'm going to ask that we just keep moving forward, and if time allows at the end, then we can ask questions of our friends and colleagues. Who's next?
So I think I'll just go down the row, and so I'll have Kerry Weiner, our Extension Director, give an update on some of the things going on in his office.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Commissioners. I plan to hit some highlights from each one of our program areas, or 7 different program areas in Extension. And then within each, where the opportunity makes sense, I'll highlight some work that we do with vulnerable populations, just kind of based on the theme earlier. So starting with 4-H, we are open, our enrollment period is open for another 8 days or so, but we're around where we were last year, around 800 members have enrolled, a little over 300 volunteers. I want to highlight our last Juntos program offering. We had 11 graduates of that program, and so that's ramping up. We did receive a $15,000 grant from Bohemian now to expand that throughout Poudre School District in the fall, and then we want to move beyond to other school districts in the county as well. We're expanding our efforts related to college and career pathways and providing support for youth in those areas. If you haven't received your invitation to the ribbon cutting for the new arena out at the ranch, that will be coming, and we'll be celebrating quote unquote 100 years of 4-H. It's hard to pin the exact moment in Larimer County in which we started, but we'll be celebrating that. A couple of quick points. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, last time you had asked about our enrollment in terms of rural, suburban, and urban breakdowns, and unfortunately, I can only go back 3 years, so that's not enough to really provide trends. But what I can share is a little over half of our enrollment comes from farm or rural settings, about 41% from mid-sized towns, and about 6% from larger cities. Commissioner Stevens, last time we had this, you had asked about making project requirements a little bit easier. That's something that is really controlled at the state level, so we could have input into that. But we're doing a few things around an orientation day, having a project display board work day, and a record book work day for general and FCS projects. And then we have much more detailed project letters this year on the livestock and horse side, so we're trying to address that locally. Moving just to Ag and Natural Resources, our Grant and Grow program with our new Ag and Natural Resource Specialist was successful. We had over 70 participants, almost all of whom were farmers or ranchers from this region, attend our Grant and Grow program to learn about grant opportunities and how to apply for them. She's participating in a soil health committee through the Climate Smart Future Ready county-wide initiative. And we had our Native Plant Master Program registrations, 40 of these open spots fill within an hour and a half. So a lot of demand for that and a lot of professionals coming through that program as well. In community development, last year we had, these are smaller numbers that get a lot of high quality resources. We had 16 adult and 16 youth FLTI graduates last year. Some of you were able to attend that ceremony. We had 9 graduates of our Spanish Aging Mastery class, but now we've built up enough capacity to where they're having monthly alumni meetings, so there's a little bit of a network and a cohort that's being established amongst older Spanish-speaking individuals in the community. We had over 20 multilingual participants attend a 4-day-long interpreter training. We're trying to build up capacity in Larimer County to offer interpretation services. And we also have 30 interpreter sets to check out to different community partners who want to utilize that equipment for interpretation. Our farmers market last year, we had a record $1.74 million in sales. with over 67,000 customers. We do have a new hire, Maggie Switzer. She's going to be focusing both on the farmers market management as well as the broader local food system, including expanding access to local nutritious foods for our vulnerable Larimer County citizens. We have over 100 vendor applications so far for this coming year, and we're also connecting with human services staff to ensure that we're maximizing how we leverage public assistance programs at the market. Within our family and household bucket, we had 682 participants in food preservation classes last year. We answered over 600 food safety questions. On the retail food safety side, we had 134 participants in our Certified Food Protection Manager program and 153 Food Safety Works. So Food Safety Works is the front lines, and Certified Food Protection Manager is the overall kind of food establishment management. So we're offering both of those services to ensure food safety and also to enhance people's career and promotion potential. We have a great relationship with Tom's Department of Health and Environment. That partnership we have with them, they're using some funds that they collect through penalties to provide vouchers for folks who need some financial assistance to go through those programs, and we were able to offer that to 14 participants for a Certified Food Protection Manager. We're starting a nutrition series at the Loveland Habitat for Humanity. Again, speaking of vulnerable populations, so we have 12 families who all received homes last year participating in this nutrition education series. In health and well-being, we're still getting a lot of web traffic to our Senior Access Points website. We've helped facilitate over 55 advanced care directives being completed in this last year. We've gotten a couple of grants in partnership with CSU faculty related to researching the impacts of nature on stress reduction. And also climate and health related research. We had another good partnership with Tom's department on radon education. We gave away 420 free radon kits to community members to help test their homes for radon for free. And we're exploring a collaboration with the food bank. Right now we're getting the Senior Access Points promotional materials in the commodity boxes that go out every month to 700 adults. And then just to wrap up, in horticulture, we answered 1,200 yard and garden questions last year. We donated 5,000 pounds of produce through our Grow and Give program. We have 130 master gardeners that continue to just donate, on average, about 40 hours a year. It adds up. And we're starting some horticulture therapy initiatives there as well. So, and then overall, we're looking at increasing our focus on rural, ensuring that we're reaching all parts of the county. We're trying to ensure strong representation from our advisory committee, and we're hoping for a good turnout of applications right now during this open period. And we're targeting some areas that we haven't had representation in the past. And then my staff has also developed their initial set of high-level goals and aims and indicators of success so that we know we're being targeted and strategic in our approach to all these different program areas. So I'll stop there.
Carrie, thank you. Excellent. Mark, I believe you're next, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mark Johnston, Economic and Workforce Development Director. So thanks so much for having me. Love talking about, what we do here in Economic and Workforce Development. I'm wondering if we may have a slide deck, and I am going to plug this in and start talking. Or maybe I won't. Okay, so you have this slide deck in your inbox, as Laura indicated. So we've only got about 5 to 10 minutes, Tom. So key themes: what's work-based learning? The regional partner connections, a handful of examples. What we've stood up as a region around an employer portal to access this. And I always think it's helpful just to know our local impact. not only out of EWD, but we have a few examples with Department of Human Services, with Department of Health, just so that you know what we're doing also just as an anchor organization here for Larimer County. So pretty quickly, what is work-based learning? By definition, it refers to opportunities for learning that occur in part or in whole at a workplace. And it provides individuals with hands-on real-world experience. It's this kinesthetics experience in the field. Colorado adopted something called the work-based learning continuum. And that's in your slide deck, but it really helps to organize common language that we can use as public partners, K-12 school districts, community colleges, other public partners, and then common language for our industry partners to understand how they can participate. Learning about work, learning through work, and learning at work. And there are literally, I'd say, a dozen and a half different approaches, whether it's a subsidized internship, which we're known for here in economic and workforce development, to apprenticeships, we're hearing more and more about that, to a business seeking to host maybe a K-12 class in their location so they can begin to have young people start imagining occupations that they're looking to hire and fill in the future. Kind of continuing, I think it's important to know, we talk a lot about regionalism, Weld, Larimer, for this example in particular, and my peers over at the Workforce Development Board in Weld County and ourselves have really joined forces with a couple dozen partners, K-12 partners in Weld, Larimer, the community colleges, the four-year university, local chambers, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, Project Self-Sufficiency, many of the targeted populations we've briefly referenced, to come together to really organize our approach to business. So that Commissioner Kafalis, I'm not coming to you on a Monday, and then Tom in the same department is coming to you on a Tuesday with the same ask. So really a better, more coordinated experience. Through that, we've stood up something called NOCO Inspire. This is, you can kind of imagine this as an employer portal. Behind that, we have people power. And that people power is navigating businesses to the right partner for the work-based solution that's going to customize their particular need. Again, across a variety of different types of work-based learning. Local impact. So we're working on our 23 annual report, so stay tuned. But one of the things I think we're very proud of is Economic and Workforce Development Department has been a lead facilitator in making 385 paid work-based learning experience happen in our community. Probably, I would estimate, and I don't have that quite today, I'd estimate at least half of that comes from what we think of as the public workforce system. But it also includes some of the Board of County Commissioner resources that we use to stand up our workforce innovation grants. A couple off the top of my head, Boys and Girls Club, our City of Fort Collins partners, our Chamber of Commerce, CSU's Disability Services. Totality, 385. Most of those, 300, to be exact, 312 in subsidized internships. So these are almost, imagine them as a job tryout for the candidate and the business. Skills are being learned. In the slide deck will describe the different kinds of occupations to give you an idea. There's a couple of success stories in there. I always think those are pretty neat to share. An adult and a youth, you could take a peek at those. And then in closing, I want to give particular kudos to my partners Heather O'Hare, Tom Gonzalez, in particular for some what I call as an anchor employer in our community. We're making work-based learning happen within our departments, utilizing each other. To give you an idea, 132 TANF recipients have received subsidized work-based learning within the last couple of years. And that is a partnership with with our TANF department and our Economic and Workforce Development Department. Tom and the Health Department, almost 25 subsidized internships advancing, and Tom, you can speak to it better than I, this youth advising committee work. I think we've gotten into adult work. But again, getting people in the field to learn, and then, of course, transitioning them into the labor market upon the conclusion. So that's what I have today.
Thank you, Mark. Excellent also. Hello, Tom.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity. Tom Gonzalez, Public Health Director. The big strategy or the big lift right now is the Community Health Improvement Plan. As you recall, in 2008, the Colorado Public Health Act implemented and required local public health agencies to commit to a process to improve the health of their communities. This is a data-driven process that convenes as much of the community as we can to hear about qualitative and quantitative data around health outcomes. So in 2022, we embarked in what is called the Community Health Assessment, and we spent that full year under Dr. Jared Olson's leadership, really working on the data, looking at all the social determinants of health, including housing, which is a big piece of that, transportation, income, food security, those kind of things, mental health. But what was really a step forward in our third Community Health Improvement Plan, because this is CHIP 3.0 since 2008, is more qualitative voices. We really took it on the road, per se, and went to 13 different areas and really tried to get the voice of those that we have not heard, our underserved community. Because the mission of the Health Department is working to provide everyone the opportunity for a healthy life. So we really got to hear from everyone. Now, that's just about impossible, but we really expanded the feedback loop. So we really did get a lot more qualitative and quantitative data. From that, the team is working with what we call contributors, and those are our partnering agencies that are very integral in the plan. And then we have our over 60 partners throughout the community, including Board of County Commissioners, that support the plan. If we're going to do this, this is community-driven. This is not the Health Department's plan per se. But through the CHA and putting the final CHIP together, there's two community-identified priorities. So this is community-identified. And the two areas are social environment and mental health. Really no surprise on the mental health. The social environment really looks at what our Surgeon General declared back in May is loneliness is an epidemic in our country, that being lonely or disconnected to social connections is like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Your health outcomes or poor health outcomes drastically increase, whether that's chronic disease and other mental health issues. So we're really looking at the social environment, increasing access to community-based resources with an emphasis on equity. So we're going to have a big team working on that piece of it. Then the mental health aspect. Now, of course, you've got the continuum of mental health, but what we've heard is really providing increased social support and connection for older adults, youth, communities of color, LGBTQIA, veterans, and persons living with disability with an emphasis on equity. The data really shows inequities, especially within those communities, and poorer health outcomes. So that will be the emphasis over the next 5 years. Next steps, the final plan where our contributors provide feedback over the next 60 days, 45 to 60 days. The final plan will go in front of the Board of Health in April at their board of meeting, because ultimately the Board of Health is responsible for approving the plan. So that's the goal, to get it April. May we'll reconvene all our key leaders, which County Manager Lorinda Volker is part of, to make sure they're all aware of the plan and how all them and their teams fit into the plan. So that is my update.
And I'll add, you might recall that the strategic plan has incorporated many of these things so that they're your goals as well as what came out of the CHIP, so that we don't reinvent the wheel and duplicate the effort. So Tom, thank you for that contribution to the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Well done. I think we have time for perhaps a question and maybe some closing comments. I would like to allow for at least 2 or 3 minutes to transition to our next meeting. Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, just want to say thank you to you all. It's really exciting to hear about all these things. I'll just try to be really quick, and if you want to talk to me about it more and have a more expanded answer, we can do that later. I first want to talk with Tom. I'm really excited to hear about, hear again and furthermore about this talk about ending social isolation and addressing this, especially with older adults. As you know, we met with Senator Hickenlooper and the Veterans Administration last week and had this discussion. It's kind of a push for that, for the Veterans Administration as well in the VSO office. So also that's something my daughter and I worked on, the intergenerational conversations, and we had partnered with CSU and the Center for Public Deliberation and the Partnerships for Age-Friendly Communities, and we actually have data from those conversations where we had youth and older adults talk about social isolation. I talked to Dr. Martine Carcassonne last few days looking at what we could reinvent, but there's some interesting data and some information that they collected from those. I thought you might be interested in. I'm going to get that, so I thought you might be interested in looking at that. Important stuff, so just wanted to say thank you. This is something that, you know, kind of from my father's isolation as a veteran, is just something I've been inspired to do since 2017, so thank you for that. Of course, I'll be talking to you on other things that we have these connections, so which are kind of related to some of this other work today. I wanted to thank you, Mark, for the information. I'm really excited about all these internships. I read those stories really quick, really appreciate the stories. That really helps us make those connections. Also I don't know if you know about this new work-based, it's gonna be announced soon. It's a partnership between, actually, hopefully we voted on it, the county, the Loveland Fire Authority, CSU, and the Colorado State Forest Service on internships for the woodland fire to go out and do mitigation and get trained for the summer, and they're actually interviewing the interns now, and that should be announced soon. And they're going to provide workforce housing inside the firehouses if they need housing. And so very unique and kind of pilot projects. So I kind of didn't know if you knew about that, but they're getting ready to announce who's going to be the interns. So again, thank you for your work, such critical, important work. And another question I'd like to maybe talk to you offline, or maybe Leah, is the safe parking that's happening at my church and other places in Loveland. So I'd love to learn more about that. And Carrie, thanks for remembering that question of mine. That's really important. I really appreciate that. And just appreciate all the things that you and Extension do. And thank you for everyone for your presentations today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Stevens, anything you'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I just thank you all for the work that you're doing. I appreciate how it all intersects. So, you know, I mean, all of you have elements in the work that you're doing that are contributing to, you know, people being healthy and whole in our community, whether it's housing or having a job that's meaningful and work so it's all really great work, and I appreciate you all working together because there's a lot of overlap in this kind of work. And so just very, very impressed by the innovative nature of the work that you're doing, where, you know, you're thinking outside the box. How do we get young people in even understanding what jobs are out there, and then helping them get them. And so just remarkable. And Extension always, you know, always blows my mind. But housing is what we hear about the most of what our community needs, and we know housing is health. So great work, folks, and let's keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll just say thanks for sharing all the excellent work and actually what I would view as good news at work. It's nice to get good news, so appreciate that. I don't think I have anything else to say. Laura, you want to close us out?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate this board always being in support and having a great interest in these topics. The amount of caring that you have for our community is evident in the amount of support and interest that you show to the programs, particularly in this service area. So thank you for your time.
Well said, Laura. Thanks. So, folks, I hope you have a nice afternoon. We're going to adjourn at 2:26 p.m. We have 4 minutes till our next work session. You all take care.